Yeah, I'm still trying to like recover a little
Oh
bit so I
yeah.
can take it.
I guess I would like to formally announce that our intern here, Spud,
Yes,
is no longer an intern. Because today
officially,
is the day he
I,
gets promoted to.
I have officially committed to working for this company,
Will he
not
be
just doing
getting
it to help
paid?
out a bro.
Will he be getting paid? Nah,
Inevitably,
nah.
it might be a nice careless whisper in the ear and a ball rub, but hey, that's all you can get as a cameraman.
We're offering him a couple paper clips, and we told him that we'd give him a straight path to heaven, and he's like, I'm in.
I like paper.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chapter 3 of Borrasca. Today, we'll be getting deeper into the Borrasca chapters. So, yeah, as little as that sounds, we'll have one more after this. So, be aware of that when it comes either tomorrow or later in the week. And then I'm probably not gonna read part, part 5. Do you think she blames herself? I don't know, man. Probably. I stretched out on the reclined seat of my Chevy and pulled the bill of my hat lower over my eyes. But do you think she's okay? I didn't answer him. I certainly have been okay when Whitney died and Kimber was even closer to her mom than I was to my sister. She was definitely not okay. Sam, seriously, I'm fucking freaking out here. It's been 2 days. I pushed my hat off my face and looked over at Kyle, who was admittedly a wreck. His eyes were bloodshot, his face swallow, and his red hair was greasy. Dude, her mom committed suicide. You know how close Kimber was to her mom. She just needs some time, but she'll be okay. She hasn't answered any of my texts or calls. I left her like 9 voicemails, man. I think I'm going crazy. You just have to give her space. Yeah, but she's my... You couldn't say it around me. I'm supposed to be looking after her. I sat up and pulled the chair up right behind me. Look, Kyle, I know you want to help Kimber, and I want to help Kimber too. But she hasn't answered our calls, been to school, or come to the door when we stop by her house. She doesn't want to see us right now, and we have to be okay with that. Right now, Kimber knows what's best for Kim. What about that suicide note? You think that has something to do with it? I sighed. Uh-oh, wait. Yeah. What about the suicide note? You think that has something to do with it? I sighed. We don't even know if there was a note. Kimber, hold on. What the fuck is this voice line? What about the suicide note? You think that has to do something with it? I sighed. We don't even know if there was a note. Kimber's dad was upset and messed up when he said that it was possible I misheard him anyway. I asked my dad and he said there was no letter. Right, because your dad is such a beacon of truth. One look at Kyle told me he immediately regretted his words. Shrug. I don't know what to believe anymore. The truth was that I knew what I heard. Mr. Desrado had said something to the cops about a letter. But I couldn't tell Kyle that. Not right now. He was already worried that his relationship with Kimber was part of the reason her mom had been so depressed. I asked my dad about the letter when he come home that night, and he sighed, run both of his hands through his hair in a tired way, and said, Sam, I don't know what to tell you. Aaron Desperado didn't leave a suicide note, and this is the first time I've heard of it. With our best friend in the morning and our investigation on hold, Kyle and I had been existing in sort of suspended state. We went to school, admittedly skipping classes here and there, missing end-of-year tests and smoking more weed than either of us could afford. Without Kimber there to set us straight and keep us in line, we were lethargic, brooding, and irresponsible. I've never realized how much I relied on her.
Crazy that as soon as the girl leaves, they stop going to class and start smoking more weed.
Oh yeah, the girl kept them in line, bro. Kyle and I skipped the last 2 periods of the day and debated on whether we should even go to school tomorrow, which was the last day of our sophomore year. We finally decided to show up for the second period, which I was glad we did because Kimber showed up in biology. Oh!
Hog.
Oh. Woman?
Woman?
I didn't even see her at first. I had my head down on my desk, resting on folded arms when I felt a meek hand pat my shoulder. I turned around to see her standing there, looking unsure and uncomfortable. I gave her a half smile and pulled her into a hug. But it wasn't a super comforting, not at all awkward Kimber hug. It was a longer, weaker hug, and I felt so protective in it that I was sad when it was over. How you doing, Kay? I asked her when she finally released me. Kimber wiped a tear off her cheek.
I'm okay.
And she gave me a wobbly smile, and I knew it wasn't true. I wrapped her into another quick hug as Phoebe Dranger gave us a snotty look. Have you seen Kyle? Oh wait, what's you?
Have you seen Kyle yet?
No, I have next period with him. Oh wait. He's been worried about you. Go ahead.
I know.
She said, sliding her eyes to the floor.
Things have been really hard at home.
It's okay, I said. We're here for whatever you need.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Whatever you need. Since it was the last day of school, our teacher, Mr. Fonder, was just happy to return our graded tests and let us bullshit the rest of the period. Kimber talked about the arrangements for the funeral and weekend and chitted Kyle and I for skipping finals to get stoned. When the bell rang, I could see that Kimber was both excited and nervous to see Kyle. As we packed up our bags, I assured her that Kyle wasn't mad, he was just worried about her. She threw her bag over her shoulder, set her jaw, and nodded. She was just trying so hard to keep it together. As soon as Kyle saw her from down the hall, he slammed his locker shut and walked towards us with such intensity that I began to wonder if maybe he was mad. He pushed past a dozen people without so much as glancing at them and left a curious, if annoyed crowd in his wake. When he finally reached us, Kyle threw his backpack against the wall and swooped Kimber up in the sort of way you'd see in old black and white movies. Everyone who watched this, everyone who watched all of this unfold, including me, groaned in unison. Since most of the teachers weren't even bothered to take attendance that day, I went to calculus with Kimber and Kyle, where they had the same conversation Kimber and I had last period. Towards the end of the hour, the conversation faltered and became uneasy. Kyle and I exchanged a look over the top of Kimber's head, and I nodded at him. Kimber, he said quietly, did your mom leave a letter?
What?
Kimber asked in surprise. I heard your dad talking about a letter on that day. On Tuesday, I said.
Oh.
As we waited for her to continue, the bell rang for lunch. Everyone filed out of the room, but the three of us Three of us stayed still sitting at our desks. Kimber, I finally asked. He sighed sadly and looked over at Kyle. Yes. What did it say? Oh, what did it say? He asked nervously.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I asked my dad for it when we got home, and he said I misheard him. There was no letter. He said not to mention it to anyone or anyone else. I just upset people.
Well, then we both misheard him, I said, which seems unlikely.
I've known my dad all my life, and I know when he's lying.
People started to filter in for the next period, sliding sympathetic glances at Kimber. Since it was our lunch period, we gathered up our things and walked out to my car, as we always did. I sat in the back seat, letting Kyle and Kimber take the up front. Kimber took a deep breath and continued.
I know my dad is lying, and I know he has the letter.
Are you sure? Kyle asked. I could tell he was still terrified that some sort of the blame rested on him.
Yeah, and I know it contains the name Prescott. I think I even know where it is.
Prescott. Yet somehow I wasn't that surprised. He was the axis around which everything that was bad orbited. How do you know it says Prescott? Kyle asked.
I heard my dad reading it once. I think he reads it a lot, actually. He was sort of sobbing and whispering the words and throwing things in his office. My dad, he hasn't been well.
Do you think she was having an affair with Jimmy Prescott? I shook my head. I'm guessing you need to think bigger than that, Kyle.
I agree.
Kimber said, threw her hands in her lap.
With everything we know about the Prescotts, I'm fairly sure this isn't about an affair. It's all connected somehow. Don't you think? My dad was the love of my mom's life, but she only left a letter for me. I think that somehow I'm the one she wronged, not him, you know? I think she did something to me, or maybe she did it because of me.
Kimber's voice broke over the last sentence, and Kyle pulled her over, kissed the top of her head, and whispered words to her that I couldn't hear. So we need to get that letter, I said after giving them a minute.
Yes, I really need to read it.
Kimber's voice was still wobbly. How do we get it? I asked.
If it's in his office,
No,
we just need to
stop.
My bad, Ed.
If it's in the office, we just need to wait until her dad is at home, Kyle said as he looked out the window.
You don't think I've thought of that?
Kimber sighed.
He never leaves his office. Not since we got home from the hospital. He sleeps in there.
So we need to get him out.
No, we need to get me in. Tomorrow is my mom's funeral, and half of Drisking will be there, including my dad, of course. I need to leave without him noticing and run home so I can go through the office.
Okay, that's easy, I said.
Without my dad noticing. And I need to be back at the end of service.
We both nodded but stayed silent because it looked like Kimber was saying more.
My dad, he's been very cold, and I think he blames me.
Kimber finally said. That's bullshit! Kyle spat.
Can you guys help me?
Absolutely. Of course. We spent the rest of the lunch hour creating a plan far more strategic than the mission probably needed. Kyle and I would engage Mr. Desperado in conversation, then Kyle would get a text from Kimber telling him she was having a breakdown in the bathroom. Kyle would leave to go comfort her, and they would take care of a car in the Desperado house. I would stay behind and keep an eye on Kimber's dad while they were gone. I went to work that afternoon, and for the first time since Monday, Mira seemed to be in a much better mood and let me go home early since it was a Friday. I didn't sleep well though, and I got up at 4 a.m. to go through my clothes looking for something dressy and black to wear to the funeral. My dad came in before he left for work and found his disheveled, panicked teenage son looking helplessly through piles of black clothing. He smiled penitently and led me to his own closet. Since my dad and I had only the same face, but the same build as well, finding something suitable to wear was easy. I thanked him, and he asked me to apologize to Kimber for having to work through the service and that he sends his love. And Desperado's funeral was in was at an Episcopalian,
Piscolian?
something like that, church on the other side of town. I picked Kyle up at 9 and saw he was also wearing a suit of his dad's, though he didn't fit it nearly as he was constantly pulling at the sleeves and readjusting the waistline. Fortunately for Kyle, he was much smaller than his dad.
Damn.
We parked as far away from the church as possible, where we hoped no one would notice a car leaving. When we went inside the church, we saw Kimber wouldn't have to do much acting to convince people she was having a breakdown. We found her at the back of the room, tucked into a chair, and a puddle of curly orange hair in tears. Kyle sat down next to her and pulled her into a hug. Jesus, Kimber, what's wrong? He kicked his foot and shot him up a look and said, Really? Kyle bit his lip. I mean, what?
There's no one here.
Kimber whispered against my chest.
My mom grew up here. She had hundreds of friends in this town. No one came.
We looked around, and I had to admit, the turnout was sparse. A few groups of 3 or 4 people standing together, Kimber's dad, who sat in a chair opposite the room of his daughter, with his head in his hands, and some family I recognized from barbecues at Kimber's house. Ex-Sheriff Clary with his wife Grace were standing there, standing with a few of my dad's deputies and talking quietly in a corner. I could see why Kimber was upset. As we waited for the service to start, I realized I never had been to a funeral before. I wished that we had one for my sister, but I knew we never could since Whitney was still legally alive. It made me sad to think that she would never be laid to rest. Only a few other funeral goers trickled in, and the pastor began getting people seated for the service. I noticed the casket at the pulpit for the first time and was glad it was closed. Still, I had to wonder at the simple, unadorned, most ugly coffin that had been chosen for Kimber's mom. I knew the Destros had money, quite a lot of it actually. It was an interesting, almost insulting choice. Poor Kimber. Kyle and I stood Kimber up and started over the pews, and she stopped abruptly.
I'm ready.
She said, and brushed the hair away from her wet face. Ready for?
To leave. I can't be in here anymore. It's a disgrace to my mother.
Kimber raised her head a notch and set her jaw. I knew this look, and it meant there would be no reasoning with her. Kyle and I looked at each other. This wasn't the plan. It'd be a lot more obvious if Kimber was missing from the service, especially with the low turnout.
You guys go over and say what we rehearsed to my dad, Kyle. I'll text you in 30 seconds. Go.
Kyle nodded, started heading over, and I knew we weren't arguing. Mr. Desperado was finally standing, looking over at the front pew reserved for him and his daughter with hesitation. Mr. Desperado, I said as we approached, I'm very sorry about your wife. She was... Shit, I forgot my lines. A great woman who raised a wonderful daughter, Kyle finished.
Yeah.
He spat.
Do great women commit suicide, leaving their wonderful daughters alone in the world?
Shit.
Do great women jump off buildings and make spectacles of themselves? And then leave their families to deal with the publicity and the grief?
Kyle's phone chirped. Thank God. Oh, that's Kimber. Kyle said a little too fast before he had time to actually look at his phone. Oh man, she isn't well. Says she's crying and feeling sick. I'm gonna help her.
No!
Mr. Desperado yelled so suddenly that Kyle dropped his phone on the ground, where it made a louder clatter on the stone floors.
Not you. You don't need to help my daughter. You don't even talk to her. He can go.
And he pointed at me. Okay, I stuttered. The plan had changed too much. I needed to somehow get the car keys from Kyle without being seen. Kyle gave me a shaky, subtle nod, and then he and Desperado went to sit down. It was obvious Kimber's dad was keeping an eye on Kyle. Getting the car keys from him was going to be nearly impossible. I backed into the shadows at the back of the room while the pastor started the service. I texted Kyle 4 times asking for help, but he wouldn't dare touch his phone. He just stared straight ahead, flicking worried glances at Mr. Desperado every few seconds. After several minutes, I went to find Kimber to see what she wanted to do, but she wasn't in our meeting spot by the back door. The plan was falling apart. I pulled my phone out and sent her a text. Honey, where are you? Kyle is next to your dad and I can't get the keys from him. I waited in the hallway, tapping my phone against my hand nervously. After a minute or two, my phone vibrated.
I'm sorry. I left without you guys. I had to get out of here. I'm so sorry. I'll be back before the end of service, I promise.
Shit. Be safe. It was now imperative that I not be seen. I went to the men's bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and played Snake for the longest 20 minutes of my life. I knew the service wouldn't go on much longer, so I texted Kimber again. You on your way back yet? Did you find it? I sat waiting, watching the minutes tick by. I texted her again. I think the service is ending soon. Where are you? After another 7 minutes of no response, I tried calling, but it went to voicemail. I tried again with the same result. I was getting nervous. I was about to try a third time when 2 people walked into the bathroom. My phone vibrated with a text. It was Kyle. The service was over. Kimber has the keys. Why aren't you guys back yet? Did you find anything? Are you serious?
That's what she meant by she left. She just had to get out of there. And she was just like, fuck it. If you're not gonna be there, just gonna dip and go look myself. First of all, this has all been a shit show.
Mm-hmm. Worst plan ever.
They literally just started talking to her again yesterday. After like 3 days of her being MIA. Which I get, her mom unalived herself, like... And I'm pretty sure Kimber knew the whole time, the 3 days, that there was a note her dad was holding out from her. So I'm sure her mind's running crazy, but like, the fact that she just dipped and didn't like message and be like, yo, I'm leaving, where, like, in this amount of time, where are you?
Yeah.
I don't know. And now that she's MIA even more and not responding, I'm a little worried for her.
I left the bathroom without washing my hands and received dirty looks from the two strangers at the urinals at the door closed behind me. I found Kyle staring out the window looking for my car. Kyle. He jumped. Where's Kimber? Where did you guys find? No, she left without me. What the fuck? Why? Where is she? I don't know, Kyle. She left without me. I reiterated. She's not answering my calls or texts. Fuck, mine neither. You have to keep an eye on her dad until she gets back. We're not the only ones, Kyle said, gesturing across the room. What the fuck is going on? 3 men were talking to Kimber's dad in the corner across from them. Chief among them was Killen Clary, who, flanked by his 2 former deputies. Sorry, I could just remember the last episode when you call him Krillin.
Listen, man, he was a very beautiful character. He was Krillin Clary, man. He was a beautiful sheriff, man. He did great work for Drisking, man. Great, beautiful work.
Krillin Clary, he would be a chief because, I mean, lore accurate Krillin, he became a police officer. This just evolved. But, not the chief you want, if you'll see. Drisking's retired sheriff had his hand on Mr. Dorado's arm and was speaking to him in an angry, hushed tone. Kimber's dad was shaking his head and desperately objecting to something. The 2 deputies walked out the front door of the church, and Mr. Desperado sagged against Killen Clary, who sat him in a nearby chair. Something was happening. Call Kimber now, Kyle said. I tried again, and this time the call rang twice and was sent to voicemail. I ended the call and threw up my hands, looking desperate at Kyle. Again, he said and took out his own phone. I got the same result and felt a jolt of relief when someone answered Kyle's call, but it wasn't Kimber. Bill, what part of town are you in? I need a ride. It's an emergency. I waited. Yeah, man. What?
This is still Kyle.
Yeah, man. I'm at Northridge Church. As fast as you can. I'm with Sam. I'll owe you. Kyle hung up and then immediately tried Kimber's phone. She's sending me to voicemail too. We both stood at the window anxiously waiting to see Phil's silver Mazda pull up. Kyle chewed his lip and I tapped my phone. Come on, Saunders. He threw occasional looks back at Kimber's dad until Clary stood up and ushered the now inconsolable man out of the church. Suddenly, Kyle's phone chirped, and we both looked down to see Kimber's name flash up on the screen. Kyle's knees nearly buckled in relief, and he sagged against the wall.
I found it.
Kyle opened the text and furiously typed a reply. They're coming for you, Kay. We both stared at the phone waiting for a response, and just as the sun blinded us in a reflection of Phil's approached silver sedan, we got one.
They're here.
It was the last message we got from Kimber when Phil dropped us at the Desperado house. We found the front door unlocked and no home. What? The front door unlocked and no home.
I think they meant no one home.
Yeah, probably no one home. My car was sitting in the driveway, unlocked with the keys of the ignition, in the ignition. Holy cow. Kyle and I drove back to the church, but the funeral was over and the few people had attended were already gone. We drove back to Kimber's house again, and it was just as we left it, and no one was home. Kyle had lost it by this time and was an absolute wreck. He called her so many times, I was sure he killed her battery. His calls went straight to voicemail and his texts were unanswered. After half an hour of begging from Kyle, I finally called my dad. He answered immediately. Sammy, what's wrong? It's Kimber. She's gone, Dad. We've looked everywhere, but her and her dad are missing. She left the funeral early and yelling clearly, was talking to her dad, and the Samson and Greg left, and I think they went to her house and got her. Dad, I think they're still working for Clary on the side of something, and I think they're doing something bad.
Whoa, 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 slow down. Come by the station and let's talk. I'll take a statement from you boys and I'll send a couple of officers to investigate the house right now. Just calm down, Sam. We'll handle this.
Hung up and threw my car violently into reverse, jerking the wheel to the left, and I hit the end of the driveway. Sam, how will you know? What the fuck? How? Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
The
How-
spelling, some of the words are fucked up on the
Sam, how we you know? That's exactly what it says, chat. Sam, how we
It's supposed to be
know?
how do we know?
How do we know we can trust the cops? I'm not trusting the cops. I'm trusting my dad, I said, my words sounding hopeless even to me. I turned into the sheriff's office, and Kyle was out of the car as soon as I slowed down enough to park. By the time I got inside, my dad had Kyle by the shoulders and was nodding solemnly at everything Kyle was telling me. When my dad saw me, he mentioned for an officer to take us to his office. After a few minutes, he came in and sat down across from the desk from us.
Alright, boys, I'm gonna have Officer Ramirez come in a few minutes and take a statement from you both. Want you to know at this point in time, it looks like Destro's left town voluntarily.
No way. No way, Mr. Walker. Kimber would never. My dad held up his hand for silence.
Let me rephrase. Jacob Desperado left town voluntarily. Kimber is a minor and has no legal rights here. If her dad said they're leaving, then they're leaving.
But she's not answering her phone. We went to her house. Nothing was packed.
Maybe they're just away for a while. Maybe going to a relative. I can't theorize as to why she wouldn't answer her phone. Other than maybe she wants to be left alone for a while.
Kyle was exasperated. But, look,
I know it's hard for you to understand, but losing a family member takes a toll on a person. Sam, you know that. We don't know how people are going to grieve, and we don't have the right to. I think it's very likely that Kimber will be back for the fall for school.
the fall? Sheriff Walker, that's 2 months away. You need to investigate now.
Kyle, I know you're upset. No one said we're not going to investigate thoroughly.
Like you investigated Whitney's disappearance thoroughly, I spat and I didn't regret the words.
Sam!
He snapped with more force than I ever heard him use.
I am tired of listening to you insulate that I don't do everything I could to find Whitney. I love your sister more than you can imagine. She is my daughter, Sam, and I will never give her up.
What about the deputies?
What about the deputies that left the funeral to go after her?
Kyle interrupted. My dad raised an eyebrow at me. Samson and Greg, I ground through clenched teeth. He sighed.
Boys, Samson and Greg left the funeral because I sent them out on a call.
I stood up violently, knocking over my chair in the process. Oh, come on, Dad.
Alright, that's enough.
The sheriff slammed his hands on the desk and stood up. Just fucking whoop. Alright, that's enough.
I told you I would tell you what I know, and I have. I understand your friend is important to you, and goddammit, the Destros are friends of mine too. I promise you that I'll use the full extent of my resources to track them down, and put your minds at ease, but until then, I can only offer you is the assurance that there is no sign of foul play at this time. You boys need to get off the warpath and let us handle this. Now Ramirez is waiting in the hall to take your statements, then both of you are going home. Understood?
I said nothing and glared at my dad, seething with rage. Kyle stood up and walked out of the room with no emotion whatsoever. He walked past Ramirez, and I followed him out to the car. We got in, and I waited for Kyle to say something. I heard a loud sniffle and looked over at him to see his face slick with tears. It was the first time I had ever seen Kyle, but not the last.
It's lying.
He whispered. I just shook my head. I didn't know what to believe. Kyle turned his face away from me.
I know he's lying. Something bad has happened. He's lying about it.
What happened? Heard more sniffling, and Kyle tried to collect himself. Dude, fucking talk to me. What do you think happened?
Kimber's gone like all the others. So she's at the place where bad things happen.
I punched the steering wheel. How the fuck had this happened? Not Kimber. Please not Kimber. Was all this because of me? Had her mother killed herself because of something I'd done? Something we found out? Was Kimber taken because of me? If I thought for 1 minute that that was true, I knew I would crack into tiny pieces. No.
Yes, Sam. Fucking think about it.
Kyle yelled at me.
It's the treehouse. It's all the same. Borrasca, the Skinmen, the Triple Tree, your sister, the mountain. It's all the fucking same. It's the Prescott Empire, and now Kimber has been fucking consumed by it.
Where do we go? I could feel the warm tears of my own desperation and hopelessness sliding down my cheeks. What do we do now? What do we fucking do? Kyle threw his hands up in frustration.
We have to go to America, right? It all starts and ends at the Triple Tree, Sam. Surely you figured that out.
We've been to the treehouse a million times, Kyle. There's nothing there.
I don't know where the fuck else to go to, Sam.
Rap. I jumped as someone tapped on the window of my car. What the fuck? Hold on. Cut that rap. What the fuck was that? I'll just do a... I jumped as someone tapped on the window of my car and wiped the tears off my face. I rolled down the window as Officer Grigg leaned down and looked in the car.
You boys move along home, alright?
Yep, I said, and turned the key in the ignition. Officer Grigg waved at us as we pulled out of the parking lot, but we didn't wave back.
The treehouse,
Kyle said. We drove in silence, both of us trying desperately to get a hold of ourselves. If we're going to be of any help to Kimber, we need to be calm enough to think logically. I parked in the space next to the trailhead, and saw several bikes tied to the post. As we made our way to the West Rim Prescott Ore Trail, we passed Parker and a couple of his friends coming down it. Isn't... Yeah, Parker is Kyle's
little brother.
Yeah, so he's probably like as old as they were when they had to take him, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably. Well, hold up, no.
Yeah, time's passed.
'Cause
They're in middle. They're like in
it
middle
only
school.
been 2 years.
They're in high school. I lied.
They were, oh, no, it hadn't been more than 2 years. They were 9.
When they first met and they first went to go to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was
He's
like
older
when
than they were.
they were at least like, I want to say 10 years.
Those kids are at least, because I think Parker was like 6, what they said.
Yeah, he was young.
Those kids are at least like 13.
Yeah. Old enough to get knives and cut themselves at trees.
Yup.
I nodded at him, but Kyle said nothing. I stared up at the trail, reaching for the only place he knew to go. It was almost dark by the time we got to Ambercott, and there was little night left to search for whatever Kyle hoped to find. It took half an hour in the darkness before I finally convinced Kyle there was nothing here to help Kimber. And though we did speak of it, I knew that he and I both painfully aware of all the sounds of the night. We were scared, terrified down to our very bones that we would hear the piercing, scraping, grinding, and metal screams of the monster at Borrasca that we'd become so accustomed to over the years. We both dreaded it, prayed it would not come, and we did not speak of it. I dropped Kyle at home and promised we'd find Kimber tomorrow. I swore we would. He gave me nothing more than a shallow nod and disappeared inside his house. My dad was waiting for me in the kitchen, and when I got home a few minutes later, I didn't look at him and walked over to the fridge, realizing I hadn't eaten all day.
Sammy, sit down. I want to apologize for today.
I took out some chicken and cheese and went into the pantry for bread.
I know you're scared, and I know that a lot has been going on, and that you can't exactly relate to.
He sighed.
Anna's been depressed for a good long while, Sam. Over 20 years. I don't wait on a person.
I ignored him and continued making my sandwich. I was dying inside, wondering if I could even trust the man I called my dad my entire life.
She was suffering, Sam. Sometimes people who suffer that deeply don't know any other way out. She knew her depression was hurting her husband and her daughter, but maybe she mistakenly thought she was doing them a favor.
Mom's depressed, I said without taking my eyes from my task. He sighed.
Your mother is coping okay, and this was way different, Sam. Kimber's mom has been depressed since she was in her 20s, early in her marriage, and suffered multiple miscarriages. Infertility can be very hard on some couples, and not even Kimber's birth could totally ease her pain.
Dad, with all due respect, I'm tired and I'm going to bed. Kyle and I are getting up and early to look for Kimber. I threw the knife in the sink with a loud clang and turned it to look at my dad for the first time. Please tell me you're still trying to find Kimber. The sheriff stood up from the kitchen table, looking as tired and disheveled as I felt,
I promise, Sammy.
and I finally believed him.
I don't believe him.
I don't believe him either.
I think he's a lying sack of scum.
Most definitely. He wouldn't give that speech if he was gonna go look for her. If he just didn't want his son just to shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah, that speech felt like a very much like, listen, this is a cop-out answer, just accept it and go on.
Yeah. The next morning when I pulled up to Kyle's house, Parker came out to meet me. Hey Parker, I said when I rolled down the window and the cool morning air wafted in.
Kyle's not here. He left around 5. Stole my dad's truck. He's pissed. You better go.
Thanks, man, I said, and then rolled up the window and took off down the street. I drove around all morning looking for Kyle and calling his cell, but he didn't pick up until around noon.
Sorry, man. I couldn't sleep.
Kyle sounded a bit more stable than yesterday. That's cool. Where are you at?
I don't know exactly. A rare spot where I'm getting service.
In the woods?
Yeah, she's out here, Sam. Somewhere in these mountains. I can feel it. I know it.
Alright, well, let me meet you.
Okay, just come down to the West Rim Trail and I'll meet you there.
I was only 5 minutes away, so I arrived before Kyle had time to get down the mountain. Mr. Landy's red Dodge Ram was parked haphazardly in no parking zone, and I figured it would probably be towed by the time we got back. I doubt Kyle cared at this point, though. I crossed my arms and leaned against my chair. I leaned against my car as I waited for him, staring up at the dirty red trail in impatience. When Kyle finally showed half an hour later, he was covered in sweat and dirt and dejection. So, I said, pushing off the car.
No, nothing, man.
Alright, well, let's keep searching. We hiked miles and miles of the mountain that day but we didn't find any sign of human life. And for the next few days, if the sun was out, so were we. Kyle was growing more and more desperate, crossing onto private property to look for logging equipment and mapping out the county's many mines to search for the abandoned buildings. But the mountain was big and the needle buried deep in the haystack. And as the days slipped away, so did Kyle's sanity. Every time I saw my dad, he would give me a sober look and promise me that they were still looking. It seemed to me that he was growing concerned. The Desperado house remained as cold and empty as the space between the stairs above it. On was the 11th night of our kimberless existence. I awoken out of a troubled sleep by the piercing, whirling, screeching sound of death at Borrasca. Cried myself back to sleep at the tortured sounds of Kyle's own agony next door. He had failed her. Kimber was dead. And that is the end of chapter 3.
Shot.
Yeah, damn, dude. That was the one thing they were really hoping for, is that they didn't start hearing the machine. Because that's the one place that, like, they haven't looked yet. I don't know, man, what's happened to her. They're like, please.
It's really starting to feel like the dad was in on it. And I don't appreciate that.
The dad?
I feel like the dad somehow knows more than he's letting on. Like he was saying how, like, he sent Sheriff Briggs on a call.
Well, here's the way I
Like,
see
it
it, right?
didn't seem like it.
If the Prescott literally owns the town, he probably owns the police. So in other words, he probably pays the police, since they literally just said that for the funeral, Kimber's mom's funeral, they have money. And it's because her dad is a police officer. They have money. They just didn't use it.
This is our ending.
Unless people, like, absolutely filled the comments saying, read part 5 type shit.
If you want us to read part 5.
If you want us to read part 5, leave it down below. But for now, fuck you. It's the end of the stream. What I would like to do is, if this gets big enough, at the end of each episode or each topic, I would like to get, like, questions from the chat that we'd read, like a handful of questions, and we would answer after stream, and then we would read out shout outs for, like, subscriptions or whatever, you know. I would like to do that eventually, but of course that means building an audience. Before we begin this, I just want to say I love and respect you as a friend, but today your brain's gonna get fucked.
Okay.
Let's get into it. Chapter 4. When I pulled up to his house the next morning, I could tell Kyle had cracked. His skin had taken on a yellowed color, and his voice was flat and void of emotion. "It's not over yet, Kyle," I said as he dropped into the seat next to me. "Yes, it is, Sam," he all but whispered. "No, I don't believe that. Kimber's dad is missing too, you know. Maybe it was him instead of that. I couldn't bring myself to say it. We're living in hell. Drisking. It's hell in our own reality." I couldn't disagree. The town I'd grown to love seemed so foreign to me now. Whitney hadn't been an outlier like I thought. Missing people were the norm here. "And that would make Jimmy Prescott the king. He's Satan himself." As soon as the words were out of my mouth, Kyle punched the car door. Got that wrong. Awakening from his dead state with rageful vigor.
I'll fucking kill Jimmy Prescott. Where is that motherfucker? You know he's involved in all this, Sam. You know.
Maybe partially, I said, staring out the window. His dad created the town that bred this shit, but I'm pretty sure the Prescotts are just running drugs. You know, the powder. Man, alright, yeah, kidnapping children and we're running powder, but okay.
The fact that the dad basically just admitted it to a bunch of teenagers. Also, when the three of them went and talked to Tommy Prescott in the nursing home, right? And when Kimber said she was Ada's granddaughter, is that true or no?
What?
So how they got in, right, is they said they were related by Ada, which was like one of
No.
sandwich store managers.
No, they're not actually related, no.
Okay.
No, that was just an excuse to get in there, you know?
That's what I thought, but
He just knows Ada, and Ada revealed that, like, oh yeah, I'm related to that guy. You know?
okay.
Yeah, so what? He's recruiting people to be drug mules or something.
Maybe, I agreed with for Kyle's sake, though I didn't really believe it. The sound the great beast machine of Borrasca gave off the distinct stench of death. And though I knew that physically was impossible, it didn't change my mind about it. The air smelled different about the metallic wailing ended. We drove over to the 4th Street Gourmet Coffee and Bakery and went in to buy our usual provisions of rock stars and monsters.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I don't know why Rockstar, but yeah. As I paid for the 4 packs of cans, I saw Mira waiting on coffee at the end of the bar. I could tell immediately that she was in a good mood. Something I hadn't seen much of since I started working for her. It was probably a good time to tell her I was calling out of work for my 5th day in a row. Hi Mira, I muttered when I approached. I can't come in today. I've got some really important... Sam! Oh, sorry.
Oh shit, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was reading ahead. I totally zoned out. I need to not read ahead.
Good, Sam.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Sam, oh my gosh, how are you?
Okay, I stuttered.
Good.
She said brightly.
Don't worry about coming in. I'll hold down the fort and I'm sure I can call Emelina in if you need help, or if I need help. But really, Sam, what have you been up to that's so important lately?
My mind blanked. Just as I started to stutter out some bullshit about helping my dad, Kyle appeared behind me.
We're trying to find Borrasca,
he said with all the gravitas of a eulogy.
Ah, yes. Owen told me you'd asked him about that. I'm sure that's just a story, Sam. The legends have been around since I was a kid.
Yeah, well, we're looking for our missing friend Kimber. We think maybe she's there. I trailed off lamely.
Really?
I thought I heard the Destros were staying with relatives in Maine over the summer. Oh well. Anyway, good luck, boys.
Balls just dropped. Love it.
Hey,
Listen, man, my throat hurts so bad I cannot do a female voice right now.
That's alright, it's alright.
thanks.
Kyle's voice was sour, and I knew his patience was thin. When we got back into the car, we each popped open a can of Rockstar and started chugging. I knew better than to ask Kyle if he wanted to smoke, since I was sure he hadn't lit a bowl since before Kimber disappeared. He finished the energy drink in under a minute and crumpled the can in his hand. God damn.
I don't like your boss.
He said. Mira, why not?
I don't know, she's just off.
Well, I mean, she's been going through some things.
Okay, hold up. I know I keep stopping and I'm sorry,
No, you're
but
right.
I'm
I've
just
heard
really
some music.
invested. So, like,
Kroger, you get
Kyle noticing that she's off is the fact that she's just okay with him calling off for 5 days in a row, no less. And then his excuse being we're finding Borrasca and her just not questioning it at all.
Sounds valid.
No, because like they're trying to look for Kimber, but she's like, I didn't know she was missing. I thought she was in Maine.
Well,
You know what I mean?
the kids think she's missing because why the fuck would she just up and go, you know?
Yeah.
There's nothing to prove that, like, there's a reason why
But
they
that's-
would just up and go, you know?
But that's what I'm saying, like Mira just being like looking for Borrasca and your friend that's in Maine. Okay. Instead of just being like, yeah, okay, whatever with it. I understand the sandwich shop has like no business, but that's very weird.
Oh, man, if only...
I bet she's on the powder.
This story is so hard not to, like, tell you, but...
It's okay. Just
It's
keep going.
It's okay. It'll all come clashing.
Yeah, why were you asking?
Why were you asking her husband about Borrasca anyway?
I don't know, I was just making small talk. And I thought he might know. He seemed to know a lot about other things.
Did he know?
I took a long gulp of the sour drink, then choked on it when I remembered something Owen had said. Well, actually, yeah, he said a Borrasca instead of just Borrasca. You know, like it's a thing instead of a place. Kyle lowered his rock star.
And it is?
Is it what?
Is it a thing?
I don't know. I've never heard of it. I've googled everything weird about this town, but nothing ever came up.
Did you spell it right?
I don't know. I shrugged. Do you know how to spell it?
No.
I pulled out my phone. Don't know how to spell it. Borrasca. There's like two spellings you could go through right there.
It could be
A C
yeah,
or a
it could
K.
literally- there's I could see BORE like cause BORERAS.
Yeah, and then Ra.
Yeah, RA and then SC or K.
Exactly. Anyway. High schoolers, am I right?
Fuck.
No, fuck Google, Kyle said. We need to talk to Catherine Scallion. That's what Kimber would say.
He
That's
was right.
definitely Catherine Scanlon, not Catherine Scallion, Mr. Krillin.
Are you seriously calling me Mr. Krillin? You're the one that fucking called him Krillin.
No. I'm pretty sure it was Killian or whatever. Just Killian Sren or
He was right. Catherine Scallion may be the most knowledgeable person in town and was probably the right person to ask. I pulled out a 4th Street coffee and prayed she went to her office already. When we parked in front of Drisking Arts and Antiques, I was disappointed to see that the store was dark. Kyle pointed to a small, cheap open sign hanging in the corner of the door. I crossed my fingers that it was for Catherine's office. I was relieved to find the door unlocked, and we passed all the antiques and blown glass to the back of the store where we found an open door and Catherine sitting at her desk.
Boys!
She stood up when she saw us.
You're up quite early for summer break. How did the essay do?
Great, I said. Actually, we're here for more help.
Personal interest.
Kyle added. Catherine raised her eyebrows.
Color me impressed.
Sorry, the way I voiced that was so funny.
Perfect casting.
Yes. I needed to get right down to it. If by some small chance Kimber was still alive, then every second counted. We're here because we want to know if Borrasca is a thing or a place. Catherine raised her eyebrow.
I remember that legend as a kid. I'd actually have to tell you I didn't know if it wasn't for Wyatt. He knew so little about so much.
She laughed.
A sort of jack of all trades. Anyway, he told me an interesting fact about Borrasca. It's both.
What do you mean? I leaned over her desk.
Well, the term Borrasca is just old, outdated lexicon.
Alright, Grandma.
The word was used by miners to describe an underperforming mine.
A mine, I whispered. Kyle shook his head.
We've been looking at mines.
So all the mines in Butler County are Borrascas? I asked.
Well, generally, it's only the first mine in the system to run dry that's called a Borrasca.
Do you know which mine ran dry first in our mining system?
Kyle asked from where he stood near the door, repeatedly clenching and unclenching his fists.
Not off the top of my head, no.
She laughed.
I can look, though. I think I have those records here somewhere.
Catherine walked behind her desk and opened a drawer of loose files.
This is an odd thing to be interested in for boys your age. But I guess I should be glad you two are so eager to learn. Especially over the summer.
Yes, ma'am. Very eager,
said Kyle. Is the Borrasca the first mine that ran out of ore? Was that by chance the first same one that those kids disappeared in?
The McCaskies? Oh no, I don't think so. That particular mine was the Southwest mine. It was very close to town. I think it was one of the last to close. Actually, here we go. This package should have that information.
Catherine spent far too long moving books around the desk to make room for the stack of papers she had. Kyle and I paced around the room, nervously trying to appear casually interested, while the energy drinks started coursing through our systems. Well, no shit, you both fucking pounded them, like, fast. Like, dude, I've never even pounded an energy drink that fast.
Chugged them. I have. It's
I
not
mean, like,
good.
dude, I've chugged a 4-pack of Red Bull before school. I've told you about that, right? I was literally shaking in the back of class.
Type shit. I've been there.
Shit.
Here we go. The first mine to close was the North Central mine, which was, actually one of the first to open.
But where is it?
Kyle walked over to the desk and braced his arms on it.
Where is that mine?
Catherine pulled over a different stack of papers and started to fumble through it. After the longest minute of my life, she made an aha sound and pulled out a large yellow piece of paper that had been folded onto a standard A4 size. She unfolded it on the desk and leaned over to read the markings. I could see from where I was standing near the doorway that it was a map. I knew we weren't leaving this office without it. A little typo there. What the fuck? Move my mic a little closer. Testing. Yeah.
Exactly, yes, Daddy.
Let's see. That mine was up further on the mountain, a little harder to get to, see?
As she pointed at a small dot on the map that was at least 4 miles from where we'd been looking. Can we take this? Kyle asked. We'll bring it back.
Of course, I'm sure I have copies. Listen, if you boys are going exploring.
I'm bringing my dad, I lied.
Oh, excellent then. You guys have fun.
She yelled at us as we rushed out of the building. We didn't stop to answer her. Fun was far from our minds.
It's so far from where we've been looking,
Kyle stuttered.
We need to go there now. We need to get a gun.
A gun? Where are we gonna get a gun, Kyle?
From your dad.
He's not gonna give us a gun, man.
Fine then. Let's scout the place first, and then we'll come back with the gun.
That didn't seem like a good idea to me either, but what choice did we have? After studying the map for several minutes, we realized the easiest way to access the mine was still through the West Rim Prescott Ore Trail. We parked at the trailhead and made the familiar hike down the marked trail and up the beaten path, realizing that we have yet to pass Ambercott Fort on the way. And I knew in my heart that we were going the right way. We were walking the same path that so many people before us had their way to Borrasca. But what did they find there? We passed the treehouse, which was as silent as the morning. We walked into the woods further north than we had ever been before, and soon we were flying blind, hiking in the general direction of the dot on the map and hoping we were still on course. Within an hour, I began regretting that we'd come without provisions, emotional and unprepared. By noon, we had been hiking for 4 hours, and it seemed to me that we were lost. I tempered the welling panic with thoughts of Kimber and Whitney and the answers to the mystery that absorbed my life for so many years. Kyle, for this part, said nothing and kept his eyes straight, and his mission his priority. And then, just as the sun teetered on the apex of the day, we saw an emptiness through the trees and hard lines of man-made buildings. Kyle quickly quickened his step, and I rushed to keep up. When we finally broke through the tree line, I choked on my own deep breath, and I fell back against a tree as I looked over the quiet encampment. A large wooden signpost that was almost as long as the entire clearing was still standing near the entrance of the mine. It had to be a century old, and though most of the letters had rotten off over the years, from those remaining, I could guess that it once said, Drisking Underground Mine. And what was left, however, was Skinned Men. For context, it is spelled Skin, S-K-I-N, N-D, and then M-I-N. Skinned Men. Put that up on screen right here. I'll put it right here. Skinned Men.
That way.
Kyle pointed to the north end of the camp. We stepped out from the shadows and into the vulnerability of the clearing. There were several large buildings still standing, and boarded up entrance. The ore mine was set back in the mountain. Getting in there, whispered.
Let's try that building,
He said, and pointed towards the one nearby, which was the largest and at least 2 stories tall. We counted to 3 and then ran across the camp to a large wooden doors of old building. They were cracked open, and when we squeezed inside, I had no doubts that death indeed was present in Borrasca. We were standing in what I guessed was a refinery, and in the middle of the room was a large silver, conically shaped machine. A conveyor belt fed into it, and the room had a sour smell. Even the dirt beneath our feet seemed to have taken on a crimson tint. This is the machine. Oh. This is the machine. This is where they taken them, I said. This is the place where people die.
Kimber isn't here. Come on.
I was only happy to squeeze back out of the door of the building and tiptoe around the slide. We rounded a corner and ran into a recently waxed, shiny green truck parked there. This is Jimmy Prescott's truck, I breathed.
I know whose truck it is,
Kyle growled. We're now on extraordinarily high alert. Kyle dropped to the ground and began to commando crawl around the building. I followed him, waiting to hear a shout or a gunshot, but no one came. As we crawled around to the back of the building, Kyle turned around to me and put his finger over his lips, then pointed to one-story brown building that was only a dozen feet away from us. He got into a crouched position and moved as fast as he could across the gap between the two buildings. I did the same. As soon as I reached the wall next to him, Kyle whirled around and put another finger to his lips and pointed up to a window directly above us.
I'm ready for this.
I'm not. I have to fucking read it.
You want me to?
No.
I'm also, to break the tension before you do this, funny sidebar, my roommate is playing Overwatch in the room next to me, and I literally heard him just like blood-curdling scream. So I can only assume he's having a wonderful time, chat.
I didn't hear it.
It literally was like...
There were noises coming from inside, and even to me, a 16-year-old virgin, the sounds of sex were unmistakable. We hear an animalistic grunting and the tired, objecting groans of an old mattress. Unable to help myself, I whispered, "What the fuck?" to Kyle, but he was already gone, all caution abandoned, running around the side of the building. I followed him through the first door we came upon and was hit in the face by an invisible wall of filth and suffering. The smell knocked me back, but Kyle kept running. I followed him in past crates of ramen noodles, MREs, bottled water, and boxes I had no time to read. I crossed under a threshold and I was suddenly surrounded by people. So many people. I skidded to a halt and realized I was standing in some sort of dorm. Rows and rows of beds on either side of me, with people strapped to them, some of them wearing dirty rags and some wearing nothing at all. Many seemed to be bloated, and I waited for one to call out to me, but they all remained silent. Some watching me, though, tired, dead eyes, and others turning away. Looking around, I realized they were all women, and the bloating I saw seemed to be pregnancies. Some were confined to their beds and others were not. I looked around the room for Kyle and I saw him standing a little further in the long room, looking back at me with some confused, wild expressions I was sure was on my face. I saw the realization across his and called out to him, but he was already running again. I lost him before I'd taken 5 steps to follow. I figured it was probably best just to keep running, spread out and look for Kimber. I didn't see her in this room, and I was sure she wouldn't have called out to us if she was. I looked around for another door, and saw one cracked open on the left behind the row of beds. I stared straight as I made my way there, desperate to avoid the wretched, void eyes of the women around me. First we helped Kimber, then we helped the others. I will come back and help you all. I promise. And as soon as I find Kimber. Without a thought, I pushed through the door wide open, and as soon as I reached it and found the source of the noises we heard outside. It was Jimmy. Something I had expecting to see, but the scene before me was not. He was hunched over the bed of almost unrecognizable, unresponsive Christy, treating her like an animal. She watched me through the slits of her dead eyes, but she couldn't call for me for help. I thought I saw a tear run down her cheek before she turned her face away from me to face the wall on the other side. Fuck. I didn't even realize the words were audible. I never even seen this depth of human suffering. Jimmy's head snapped around to look at me and briefly registered surprise before he smiled at me in a way that turned my insides to ice. He didn't stop what he was doing, and I wanted nothing more than to run over and push him off of Chrissy. But my utter shame, I couldn't force myself to come any further into the room. Sam! Sam! Kyle's voice echoed through the building, and I immediately cured me of my paralysis. I found myself running back into the miners' dorm and away from Jimmy Prescott and Chrissy. Kyle! Come back here, hurry, please! I found Kimber! I followed his voice through the maze of the beds and rooms as it... What the fuck, man, is that word? A...
Cacophony?
What the fuck?
Cacophony?
I followed his voice through the maze of beds and rooms as a cacophony of voices began to follow me. Go ahead, be the woman.
Please.
Let me do that again.
Yes. Add more drama.
Oh boy.
No.
You ready for this?
Yep.
I'm method acting. Hold up, let me get pregnant real quick.
What the fuck?
Okay. Help us, please. It's pretty good. Sounds exasperated, you know.
This is not a time to be laughing.
Don't laugh at these women, Aiden. Okay,
I'm not laughing.
they're suffering. You can't be laughing.
They
at
are
them.
suffering, and we're gonna get them out of here. There were maybe
Are
only...
we?
Yes, I swear it. After Kimber, of course.
Of course.
There were maybe only a handful of girls yelling at me, but it sounded thunderously loud as it filtered through my gut. The weight of their misery dropped down upon me, and it almost pushed me into the ground. I will get help. I will help you. I promised them as I followed Kyle's voice, still screaming desperately from an adjacent room. I sprinted across another threshold and saw him, hunched down near a corner bed, helplessly yanking on a leather strap attached to it. I slammed... God damn, yeah. I slammed into the bed and fell to my knees, trying to work out what he was doing and how I could help him. I tried not to look at the bed because I knew I couldn't see her like that. I couldn't bear it. If Kimber looked at me through the same accusing, empty eyes as Chrissy and the others, I might lay down on the ground beneath her and curl up into a ball. Go around and get the other side.
We gotta remember that this has been like the only girl he's actually liked. Like, yeah, he like got the job at the sandwich shop because he thought the other chick was cute.
I'll be
Like,
honest,
he-
I'll go one
he
step
just-
further. It's not just a girl he likes, it's also
This
the
is like-
only girl he's ever talked to. That's why he
Yeah,
cares so much
it's
about
like-
her and his sister. So, I mean, also, those are the only two close people in his life.
This is like one of his best friends he's had for years, since he was like 9. He's had it for like almost 10 years, bro.
Oh my god. I'm gonna finish this mostly because I don't remember if it's in this one or not, but yeah.
You're right, go around. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Go around the other side. Unbuckle the other 2 straps.
Kyle had the high-pitched voice and wild, desperate eyes of madness. I ran around the other side and did as he's shaking awkward hands. Oh, boys. Jimmy's voice ran out from the other side in the building. I had just freed Kimber's ankle and was working on her wrist. She whimpered when she heard him and then buried her face in my shoulder. Do you think you're hiding? I know where to find you. I know right where I put that girl.
fucking kill you, Prescott, you sick cunt. I'll fucking stomp all your bones and bleed you out, you little fucker.
Kyle had lost all reasoning and strategy. He was filled with rage instead of fear, and it scared me even more. I pulled Kimber's wrist from the final strap and yelled, "Go! Go now!" We pulled Kimber up off the bed and quickly realized that her legs could barely support her. She was heavily sedated and breathing weakly. We braced her on either side and moved as quickly as we could through the nearest doorway, away from Jimmy. We were in another dorm, though this one filled with mostly empty beds. I could see sunlight shining through the door at the end of the long room, and we raced towards it as Kimber made little cries of pain. I didn't think my heart could break anymore, but I was wrong, because in the next moment, it did. I almost dropped Kimber when I saw her staring at me. Her eyes were hollow and uninvested, and when I turned toward her, she looked away immediately, as if she couldn't stand the sight of me. "Whitney?" I said weakly.
Sam, let's fucking go!
Kyle screamed. I can't. I turned toward him as tears rained down my hot cheeks, and Kyle saw her too.
I can't stay,
Kyle said, still moving toward the door.
I have to get Kimber away from here. Please.
But he knew I wasn't going anywhere now. "Good luck, bro," I said. Then we were both running in different directions. Whitney's hair was long, but it was thin as her face. Everything on her looked brittle except for her stomach, which bubbled out from her like an overblown balloon. She refused to look at me. She flinched as I tried desperately to unbuckle her from the bed. I haven't even finished the first belt buckle when I heard Jimmy walk up behind me. I didn't bother to look up at him or stop trying to free my sister. I didn't know what else to do.
I admire you, great kid,
Jimmy said, then sat down on the bed behind me and continued to watch me, giving no objection to what I was doing.
You probably think your friends got away, but there's no sense in false hope, is there?
There's no sense in any of this. My voice sounded frail, and it cracked over the last word.
Wrong about that, Jimmy said. But just so you know, I've got Clary out there looking for them already. People making a lot of noise coming down off this mountain. Trust me on that.
Sheriff Clary. I was desperate to keep him talking, anything to keep him from trying to stop me.
Oh yeah, you know he was supposed to retire from the business, but unlike the previous sheriff, he kept a few horses in the race.
Horses? Nothing made sense.
Yep.
Jimmy slapped the bed next to him.
We call these buildings the stables.
He laughed. I dropped the last buckle. Dude, I want to fucking swing on mofo, you know what I'm saying? I dropped the last buckle on the floor and looked down at Whitney. I expected her to spring up and run towards the door as I went after Prescott, but all she did was rub her wrist and itch her collarbone. Then she put her arms back where they'd been, turned her head away from me, and shut her eyes. I slumped down onto the bed next to her and picked up her old, cold hand. If she wasn't leaving here, neither was I. It was over. I sent a silent prayer up to God. I didn't know and wished my friends safety.
Do you want to know what this is, Sam?
I shrugged. It didn't seem to matter now.
It's all about the babies.
I stared down at Whitney in her swollen belly, but gave no indication I was listening. I'm gonna get close and get real.
Man.
You wouldn't believe how much money is in this industry. I mean, my dad was a smart man. He knew we didn't have anything of value to sell. Back then, the Prescotts were dirt poor. Work miners, just like everyone else in this town. He first got the ideas when he sold my brother off to pay for the legal fees to fight the city. I mean,
Some people would pay 5 figures for a newborn, you know? Even back then. And the organizations that'll buy them, well, buy in bulk. But we still make a killing off of them. And our overhead is very low. Jimmy stood up and pulled a gun out of his waistband, then threw it on the bed across the aisle. You know, try to understand, Sammy. It's not just about the money. We use the stables for community services too. A lot of people in this town come to us, you know, ever since the 50s. I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to be here, listening to this. I didn't want to see Whitney so broken. I didn't want to wait for the inevitable death. It was torture in its purest form. What are you waiting for? Why don't you just kill me? This isn't a James Bond movie. I don't care about any of this shit. Jimmy laughed loudly, as if it was the funniest thing he ever heard.
Kill you? Christ, kid, if I could do that, I already would have. But I'm not allowed to kill you. I've been trying to decide if I want to fuck your sister right in front of you, though. She's not one of mine, but it might be worth just to see your face.
Christ. What a fucking evil person.
Oh, I had to read that, bro.
She's already pregnant, too.
Just kill me and let her go. Fuck, I'll kill myself if you let her go. I stood up from the bed and Jimmy took 2 steps toward me and punched me so hard in the face that I fell back down on it. I moaned as I fought the tears and stars behind my eyes. I can't let her go, you little fuck. She's not one of our community service babies anymore. Grace says she's got 1 other week to go. 2 tops. Jimmy looked down at Whitney and frowned. She's been putting out our shit babies. Though, as soon as this one's out, she's got a date with the shiny gentleman. The fuck does that mean? I yelled at him with a loud ring suddenly filled the room. Jimmy held up a finger and pulled out a phone out of his pocket. I gotta take a business call. 2 minutes and we can get back to our conversation. Jimmy walked over to a corner of the room and I desperately started to pull on Whitney. We gotta go, Whit, we can't stay here. She kept her eyes shut and her body lags. Whitney, they're going to kill you. My head whipped toward the door as I had a truck skid in the dirt just outside of it. Jimmy ended his phone call and Killing Clary walked in, pushing a limping, bloody Kyle in front of him. Was that you?
Lose something, Prescott?
My Donald Trump guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was your Donald Trump.
We're gonna build a wall. Lose something, Prescott?
Where's the girl?
Couldn't find her.
God damn it, Clary, you fucked us. Go back out there and find that girl. Jimmy snatched his gun off the bed and shoved it back into his waistband. You know what's funny? I'm just now realizing too that I don't even remember if this is the voice I made for Prescott. Like,
Doesn't matter.
it was. I bet you. I don't even know. But
I think you had like a mega Chad, almost.
no, that was his dad. That was his dad.
This is me.
Yep.
Now listen here, you little shit.
Clary growled.
I ain't your fucking employee, and I don't have a fucking day to play hide and seek in the woods. I'm telling you, she wasn't with him, so I'm guessing you want to know where she is. So you gotta get it out of him.
Larry threw Kyle down on the floor and spit near his feet. Dude, I'm sorry, but if you're just gonna use the Donald Trump voice, all I can imagine is like, this was the interactions between him and Epstein. You put yourself into this one.
I did.
Bear trap. You gotta fucking do your job now. Jimmy walked over and without a hesitation kicked Kyle so hard in the ribs I heard some of them snap inside his chest. I tried to stand up and I was still dizzy and fighting off the darkness. Where's your girlfriend, Landy? Prescott raised his boot and then stomped down hard on Kyle's ankle. He screamed in pain. I can't do this all day, kid. Clary sat down on a bed across the aisle and lit a cigarette, watching impassively. Jimmy pulled Kyle to his feet and then punched him hard in the face. A few of Kyle's teeth scattered across the floor. Tell me, you little cunt! Jimmy punched him again in the face and Kyle went limp. You're killing him! I screamed and jumped off the bed, running blindly toward Jimmy in a red rage. Clary stood up and caught me with no effort at all, holding my arms down at my side. He laughed, a cigarette still tucked on the corner of his mouth. I struggled helplessly against his chest. Jimmy had straddled Kyle by now and was rapidly punching him in the face and chest. Kyle was barely conscious, and I prayed he would pass out from the pain. After a full minute of this, Jimmy stood up and rubbed his bloodied fists. Last chance, Landy. Fuck you, Kyle said through a wheezing, rattled breath of air. Jimmy spit on him and rattled his foot up as high as he could and brought it down on Kyle's face with so much force that I heard his skull break. I sagged in Killian's Clary's arms and he dropped me into a puddle at his feet. Jimmy bummed a cigarette off Clary and they stood next to Whitney's bed, watching me cry. Jesus, what a mess. After a few minutes, Clary flicked his cigarette out and pulled out his phone.
Alright, Sam. Take your friend.
I couldn't have heard him right. Fuck that. Little Landy shit ain't leaving here.
You wanna clean this mess up, Prescott?
Just for my own viewing pleasure, can you say Epstein instead of Prescott just for that? Just for that.
You wanna clean this mess up, Epstein?
Do you want to clean this up, Epstein?
You listen here, Epstein. I already built a wall. Now you're gonna clean this up, Epstein.
You want to clean up this bloody little kid off the floor? You do you. I stood up and my knees didn't buckle beneath me. Leaving without my sister, I told them, and Jimmy laughed. It's you,
Yes, you are.
Clary said.
If you want to save your friend's life. He ain't dead yet, Sam, but he will be soon.
He tossed his keys at me.
The road off this mountain is back by the refinery.
I let the keys bounce off of me and fall to the floor. Clearly swore at me. Oh, I think that meant Clary. Clary swore at me. I knew he was right. I was a coward and I would leave my sister and all the others here just so I could get away and save Kyle's life. I picked up the keys and then, without looking at the two men, I picked up Kyle by the shoulders and his head rolled back as if I was no longer attached to his spine. His face was a collage of pulp and blood. I struggled to stay calm and breathe as I dragged him out of the building. Clary and Prescott watched me, taking drags off their cigarettes and saying nothing. I knew they were probably lying to me. Kyle would be dead by the time I got down the mountain, if he wasn't already. I opened the door to Clary's old Ford and placed Kyle in the front seat, wincing as his head rolled around like a ball on a string. It took me almost an hour to get down the mountain, even though I took the overgrown road at ridiculous speeds and did everything I could to destroy the shocks on the truck. I sped into the hospital's emergency zone and found a medical team waiting inside the door. It was clear they gotten a call to expect me because they had already had a crash cart with the team and an IV ready to push into Kyle's wrist. I left Clary's truck where it was spent the next 2 hours in the waiting room, calling my dad over and over again, crying over an Architectural Digest magazine. No one came to take a statement from me or ask me any questions. Kyle's mom arrived just before my dad did and started screaming as soon as he saw me. My dad walked in behind her and had a deputy restrain her. He drove me home in silence, but I couldn't take it for long. Is anyone gonna file a police report? Does anyone fucking care what happened?
Sam, he didn't turn to look at me. I'm doing my best to do damage control on the situation. But if Kyle dies or his parents sue, there's nothing I can do to keep you out of court.
You think I did this? I screamed at him.
We're not going to tell your mother, alright? She has enough to worry about.
Dad, Kimber, it was fucking Prescott and Sheriff Clary.
Yes, you arrived at the hospital in Killen's truck. We already talked to them both.
I was so frustrated and full of rage that my next words came out a jumbled, stuttering mess that ended in a helpless scream. We pulled into our driveway and my dad turned off the car and finally turned to look at me, and I struggled to catch my breath.
Samuel, we will never speak this again. Do you understand?
Are you fucking kidding me, Dad? Kyle might fucking die. I saw Kimber...
Enough. If you want this to go away, you will keep your mouth shut about it. There is no statements to anyone, and I'll hire the best lawyer I can afford to clean your mess. I don't know why you beat your friend almost to death, and frankly, I don't want to... You...
Fuck you, I screamed, and I threw open the door to the cruiser. I ran, then away from him in the house and my broken life. He didn't come after me, not that day or another. Since everyone in town thought I was a violent thug, no one would let me stay with them when I called around. I eventually went to a motel far outside of town, and drained the last of my savings from work paying for the room. I went to
Man,
Yeah,
hold up. First of all, this guy became sheriff, and his daughter got took, knowing that she was going to be used to get SA'd all these years. And now he's just throwing his son away?
Aiden, I'm gonna connect some real quick dots for you, okay? Are you ready? His dad was an issue on the past police force, so they move him to a new town, outside of and away from everything. Dad quickly rises to new positions, quickly becoming a cop. Daughter goes missing. Father becomes friends with police. Kimber goes missing. Dad's telling him to shut the fuck up. Dad's been in it since day one. He's been trusting the wrong motherfucker from back when, like, he said he could trust his dad in the previous chapter. Fuck no. Fuck no.
I never trusted the dad, but
yeah, the dad.
Now that I know that Whitney is alive this whole time and has just been getting used to pump out babies,
you know what the best part is?
He's had to have known.
You wanna know what the best part is?
Let me guess. His daughter is fucking... How Jimmy Prescott said how she's not mine. As soon as he said she's not mine, I put two and two together that I bet it's the dad that was the one that made her go missing. Anyway, let's keep reading.
I went back to pick up my car from the trailhead, but it was gone, and it was gone, and I hoped it was Kimber who had it and not a tow yard. I read the paper every morning for some mention of Kyle's condition. I saw the Daily's birth announcement about 10 days later that they had just a son that they named William. The whirling, twirling, shining gentleman lit up the valley with its stench and song of death that night. It was the last time I ever heard it. I stayed in Drisking long after the money had run out, and I was sleeping on the concrete behind the motel. I stayed until Kyle was released from the hospital, a mute, empty-eyed, soulless vegetable. I went to see him once while only Parker was home, and threatened him until he let me inside the house. When I had assured myself that Kyle I knew was dead, and only his empty husk remained, I left his house and hitchhiked out of town. After I spent four drunken, drug-fueled years in Chicago, I came home one day to find a letter waiting for me. It didn't have a return address, but it was postmarked California. I knew it was from her, before I even picked it up. She'd written so much in my assignments for me that I knew Kimber's handwriting better than my own. Inside it was a letter. The letter. It read only once. I only read it once many years ago until I sat down to describe it today. My Kimber, I know you aren't going to understand why we did the things we did. It was all born out of love. At least it started that way. You're everything to me, and you'll always be my daughter. You understand? And I'm leaving this world because of what I've done to you, not because of what you are. I don't want you to be upset about what you are, because who you are is beautiful. My dearest, this town has done horrible things, and all of us who live in here are guilty. Read this letter and leave this place. I need to tell you all of this. I need to start at the beginning. Somewhere along the way, decades ago, the majority population of Drisking became unable to bear children. Most people blamed the town for letting the iron ore leak into our water table during the collapse of our mines. This is the same water table that still provides the town's water today. They were never quite able to fix it, and the ore is toxic, and exposure causes infertility. The town did and still does suffer great from its effects, and the Prescotts, they solved the problem that no one could solve. It was an ugly, cross solution that most people were happy to look away when they weren't able to raise families again. You see, they took girls, mostly women from other places, and they impregnated them and gave us their babies. And the town came under the care of Thomas Prescott when he started to sell some of the babies on the side for a profit to rich couples. And the sheriff, he'd helped him do this. And then an uglier rumor started that they were selling to human traffickers, and the Prescotts had to offer triple for the price for girls. And in town, we began to murmur, but we once again turned the other cheek when the city was suddenly flooded with money because of how well the traffickers paid. People had well-paying jobs again and were proud to call Drisking home. So we said nothing, and those that did were taken to the mountain, because that is where they did it. This is a place on the mountain where the women are taken. Kimber, drifters, runaways, and if their parents chose it, sometimes the girls in town are even sold back. They arranged to sell the girls and meet them at a tree halfway between our town and their baby mill. Sometimes kids play there now. I think you played there. I think you've been to the place I'm warning you about right now. Oh man, that's crazy. The Prescotts and the sheriff are the ones who impregnate the girls, and the children are named after them. Pay attention now. You ready? P children for the Prescotts, and K children for the sheriff. And when the women become too sick or too old to deliver profitable babies, they are sent through a giant machine that was used to refine ore. Their bodies are crushed and the blood and skin stripped away from what remains of them as their stolen children and the dust of their dust of their bones. And all that's left of their bodies is the powder that they spread over the mountain to hide our crimes. I'm telling you this, Kimber, because you are one of those children. Most of your family are one of those children. Please get out of Drisking before your father finds this letter. Run away and never come back, and never speak of it to anyone. Their industry has deep roots now, and the traffickers have lofty connections. Don't tell anyone. Don't keep this letter. Don't look back. I love you. I'm sorry I have to leave you. We all have to answer for our sins, and I'm ready to burn in hell for mine. Love always and forever, Mom. And that is the end of... So, real quick, I want to point you out something. Are you ready? You're gonna fucking love this. This is how you know that the father's involved. So, P for the Prescotts, K for Killian, right? I think. They just had us. I saw the Daily's birth announcement about 10 days later. They were the ones that ran the convenience store that he worked at. The one that had issues. They had just had a son that they named William. The manager was having issues having babies. The husband comes in. They said that they're probably going to resort to one last option that they really didn't want to.
Then she was happy.
And then she was happy. And now they have a son named William. Now, I'm going to ask you something. What was Sam's last name?
William, I'm guessing.
Let me look it up.
Walker.
Walker. Yep, it was Walker. So there you go. Walker and little William. Now, what's but yeah, like Kyle, he's Killian's son. Kimber, Killian's son. Who's a P name? Did we run across any P's?
There was that one P girl.
Was there? There were. I just remember. Oh, the round face girl. Okay.
What? Wait. I'm just putting two and two together that William because of the last name. Jesus.
You just okay. You know I've been.
I'm still like
I get
processing
that.
all the information.
Dude, it's a crazy story. I fucking love it. But like, I guess I'll kind of give you a summary of what Chapter 4 is, or not Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and why I don't like it much. It's mostly
Sam
just
going back and killing everyone.
Yeah, it's Sam in like the future years, but like Kimber sends a letter, he gets the letter, and then Kimber ends up showing up saying we need to go back. And she needs to stop this, and I don't remember. I don't think it was for like any reason except like we just need to stop it. And like
this is the letter he gets because he says that's Kimber's handwriting.
No. Okay, well, okay. So Kimber, what this is, right? Kimber got the letter from her mom. That was her suicide note. That was her mom's suicide note.
Wait, okay, I'm confused.
Kimber found the suicide note and then sent it to Sam to prove to him that she is not only alive, but has found the truth, and that now he knows the full truth.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Was like, is this the letter? Because like you're saying he gets the letter and then she shows up.
No, 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 no. Sorry.
He gets a separate letter from Kimber.
Yeah, yeah. There's a separate
Okay.
letter. There is a separate letter. Like if you want, I can scroll all the way to the top. Goddamn. You go
Man, the
to.
words were so small on this website.
It was.
I had to zoom in to read them good.
Um.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Literally just Baby Mill Simulator, the story.
Yeah, literally right at the beginning, of chapter 5, there's supposed to be like, I don't remember how many years, I'm sure it tells you, but like, Kimber just shows the fuck back up at his front door after all these years, and it's like, yeah, I need you to come back and help, please. And
My only
like
problem.
Sam's like, why? The fuck? And he's like hard traumatized by it. Like this man, that's the reason why he's
Okay,
doing.
well, I understand that Kimber got SA'd a couple times and probably had to have an abortion or something. But like, Sam had to not only see all these girls, which I guess Kimber probably. I feel like hearing it, you get desensitized to it a lot more than just like within the span of seconds, Sam saw all these girls who were pregnant with rape babies, saw the man raping a girl himself, like incriminating himself,
Mhm.
his best friend
His sister.
being a victim, then running past his sister,
That
going
wouldn't
back
not.
for his
You got to
sister.
remember this one too. His sister that didn't want to leave because she realized she was already too far gone.
Yeah, maybe not that she didn't want to leave, just
She
that
has
she's so
he
brainwashed and like you.
literally watched an entire barn house basically filled with women that were
Mhm.
given the chance, that had the chance to run away, but were so manipulated and soulless that like they just didn't, you know.
Mhm.
So it's like, of course he's gonna be traumatized by that. It's like these people aren't here by choice, they have the option to go, it's just mentally they cannot, you know.
Mhm.
But I guess for some reason Kimber comes back in like chapter 5 trying to be like the hero, and it's like, yeah, I can't let this go on anymore. And then Sam's like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that idea. And it's like that the whole movie. And it can be
The whole movie.
not movie, the whole chapter. But yeah, I think we can call it there, can't we?
Mhm.
But anyway, thank you all for listening to this long story of Borrasca. Let me tell you, one of my favorite creepy pastas. Definitely down to read more. So if you have any recommendations, leave them down below. But from now on, we are gonna hop back onto our normal, scheduled, regular program, and I guess one more proud welcome to our new co-host and I guess promoted intern. And
Sorry, I was.
I
I
love
was.
y'all.
Bye, chat. Love ya.
Peace out.